Previously on Higurashi When They Cry console arcs.
シオン、あんたからもおじいちゃんたちに言って。これ誤解、間違い、みんなの勘違いだって。
え、そうなんですか？
そうに決まってるでしょ。あんた分かってるくせに。
おかしいな。この前パーティーの企画してた時はケイちゃんのことベタ褒めでラブラブ光線乱れ打ちって感じだったのに。
ラブラブ？
ダメそれ言ったら絶好だってあれほど言ったでしょうが。あんた本気で殴るよ。
おやー、それ人に物を頼む態度ですか？ちょっとショックですね。お願いします、シオン様。
はあじゃないでしょ。状況わかってる？このままだと私たち今日は一日中酒の魚にされて、明日からは公認のカップル誕生だよ。
Officially? Well, thinking about it, having Mion for a partner might not be so bad. Wait, what am I thinking? You're thinking with your head, son. And I don't mean the one above your shoulders.
ケイちゃんってば。
そうだな。悪いレナ、今日のパーティーは延期ってことで。
Satako was finally released from Reina's clutches and fell to the ground with her arms and legs spread out. Breathe, Satako! Breathe! Rika-chan began poking her with a twig to confirm her well-being. But right now, my priority was ensuring my personal safety. Sorry, Satako.
行くぜ、ミオ。
行こう。
心配かけてごめんなさいなのです。でも、明日からはいつも通りの僕なのですよ。ニパー。どうしました？ケイチ？
いや。
Rika-chan peered at me while lightly tilting her head in a cutesy, friendly manner. Staring straight at me with those dark pupils, I looked away for a moment in embarrassment. But something stirring in the back of that gaze felt out of place. I've realized it for a while now, but something is bothering Rika-chan. She's never said anything, but it must be something deep and heavy enough to make her distance herself from us. I understood that much. Look at you, being perceptive. And we've been waiting for the day to come when she'd be willing to tell us. But, looking at her expression now, I don't think her problem has gone away. Rika-chan is still keeping quiet. Does that mean it's something we can't help her with?
違うわ、ケイチ。
え？
この子を導いてあげて、あなただけが頼りなの。
Wait, Hanyu? What? Just now. I'm sure I heard a voice.
リカちゃん？今、何か言った？
もうすぐ、綿流しのお祭りが始まります。そして、その晩、お社様のたたりとして、富武が殺されます。
I immediately gasped at her words. Tomitake. Tomitake-san is that photographer who travels to Hinamizawa around this time every year. That man is going to be killed on the night of Watanagashi?
そして時を同じくして、看護師の高野が行方不明に。しかしこれは、偽装されたものです。
リカちゃん？
それからしばらくして、今度は、僕が殺される。この古出神社で、生きたまま、腹を裂かれて。
The content of the conversation was so extreme, I couldn't even pinch out a word. And what's more, it wasn't about someone else's fate. Rika-chan was talking about her own fated death. For a moment, I thought it was a joke, but Rika-chan's expression was completely lacking her usual cheerful smile. I deeply reflected on every single word. This is a delusional prediction? Or like she said earlier, this is fate?
あなたには初めて見せることになると思います。そう。これが本当の僕です。フルデリカのもう一つの姿です。僕は自分の死で閉じられたこの時間をもう数えきれないほど繰り返して生きてきたのですよ。信じられないという顔ですね。でもこれは夢ではないのです。僕とあなた、ここにいる二人だけが見ているたった一つの現実なのです。
Rika-chan sneered as she said that. I wanted to say she was wrong, but I held my tongue. Even if I spoke up to deny her, she would know that my heart wasn't in it. So I just continued staring at Rika-chan in bewilderment.
答えてください、ケイチ。あなたは僕に一体何を見せてくれるというのですか？
俺はだからどうした？
え？
だからどうしただぜ。俺が信じないのは誰かに決められた未来ってやつで、リカちゃん本人とかリカちゃんの言うことに対してじゃない。それに仲間が苦しんでいるのを見過ごすなんて、俺がそんなやつだとでも思ってたのか？あのさ、リカちゃん。
As I stood there bewildered, Keiichi put a hand on my shoulder and deeply nodded to reassure me. His hand was big and warm, with a very gentle touch.
今言った話が本当か夢かはともかくとして、そのことで苦しんでるリカちゃんを俺たちが黙って見ていると思っていたのか？言いたくないことなら俺も聞かないけど、今そんなに怒って言ったってことは本当は聞いてもらいたかったんじゃないのか？だから話してくれ、リカちゃん。俺も信じられないと思ったら正直にそう言う。だけど何も聞かされなかったら信じられる話かどうかもわかんないままだ。
ケイチ！確かに敵が誰なのかはもう分かっていますのです。でもこんな世界は初めてだから、どう動いていいのかがわからないのです。良かれと思って真相を打ち明けて行動しても、それが危険につながることだってありえます。そしてきっとこの世界が僕にとって最後の機会だから、当たって砕けろなんて冒険はできないのです。
どうして？
僕にこの力を授けてくれた、いつも何度転生しても僕のそばにいたはずの仲間がいないのです。ということはひょっとしたら今度失敗すると僕はもう生まれ変わってやり直すことができないかもしれないのです。
でもな、リカちゃん、これだけは言っておきたい。俺はリカちゃんを信じている。だから今言ったこと、未来で起こるかもしれない事件のこと、全て俺は信じる。そして覚悟も決めた。もしこの先どんなことが起きて、そして運命ってやつに巻き込まれたとしても、君を恨んだりはしない。少なくとも俺は絶対にな。
ケイチ。
怖いのは当然だ。俺だって同じ立場だったらきっと足がすくむ。だけど俺を信じろ、リカちゃん。この前原圭一は絶対にリカちゃんの力になってみせる。今は信じられないかもしれない。それでもいいからよーく見てろ。俺と部活メンバーの 本当の底力と結束の固さを。そして見せてやる。この世界の俺と組めば、どんな運命だってひっくり返せるんだってことをな。
今まで負け続けなのに、それを信じろというのですか？
それはこの世界の俺たちじゃねえ。赤の他人だ。それに、リカちゃんもさっき言ったじゃないか。だったら信じてみろよ。この世界の可能性ってやつを。俺たちは負けない。絶対に勝ってみせるからな。リカちゃん。
I grabbed hold of Rika-chan's hand, and then I spoke.
わかった。その代わり、その時が来たら、きっと話してくれよ。まだリカちゃんが、その胸に抱えていることを。
もちろんなのです。ありがとう、ケイイチ。
Rika-chan gently smiled at my answer.
今はこの手を握ってくれるだけでいいのです。僕の近くで僕が道化のように戦う姿を見ているだけの観客でいてください。でも一つだけお願いします。僕が舞台から転げ落ちそうになった時は席を離れても受け止めてください。それさえ約束してくれれば、僕はまだ頑張ろうと思えますのです。僕のお願い、聞いてくれますか？
ああ、きっと。
We held our hands under the moonlight for a little while longer. This marked the beginning of a long battle, and so it continues. Greetings, my name's Neosekken, and welcome back to my Let's Play of the Higurashi When They Cry console arcs. So, we've now firmly established a partnership with Rika, and we're going to, if we manage to survive all this, establish a completely different kind of partnership with Mion. Things are definitely getting interesting, to say the least. Kinda wondering what's gonna happen today. Naturally, Sunday came to a close, and Monday arrived. Why aren't you doing anything? There we go. And along with it, the eagerly awaited beginning of my life as class representative. I imagine it's going to be chaos. I can't help but feel a bit overwhelmed, even thinking about running from this responsibility. But enough of that. It's already been decided. The dice has been rolled! And so, I began fulfilling my duties as the class representative immediately.
その記念すべき初仕事が石灰運びかよ。
Hey, we need something to write on the blackboards, don't we?
ほら、文句言わず運ぶ。まだいっぱいあるんだからね。
Mion lifted a large chalk bag as she said that. I'm a man after all, but for some unfathomable reason I had to carry 2 bags at the same time. Because it's manly, boy! But this is the sort of chalk used for drawing lines on the yard. Oh. Well, whatever, you still need to draw on the ground with something. So why do we need to carry this much?
ジエ先生、発注の数間違えたみたいだね。4袋のはずが1桁増えて40袋になったってさっき言ってたよ。
Oof, dang. Wait. That can't be right.
いいじゃない。どうせ消耗品だし。校長先生も多めに見るってさ。
That's to be expected. The principal is only human.
でも、チエ先生はそれじゃあ自分を許せないからってペナルティ自分に課してたけどね。
What? No curry for a week?
ペナルティ？なんだそれ。
カレー1週間禁止。
How the hell did I guess that? I'm okay. Oh. Damn, I must be psychic today. I see. That's why Chie-Sensei looked so depressed earlier. Punishment like that is on the same magnitude as do not breathe. Nonetheless, it does demonstrate our teacher's strong sense of responsibility. She seemed to be in a sour mood in class. She must be going through withdrawal symptoms.
それにしてもミオン、こんな仕事今まで一人でやってたのか？
ああ、まあ時々はね。でも大抵はレナたちの手を借りたりしてたね。
Mion showed me a laugh as she said that. But thinking back on it, anytime we seemed to run low on PE supplies, everything would be neatly decked out just a few days later. I always thought that was handled by the supply vendor, or maybe by the teacher. It was actually Mion's handiwork? I was once again reminded of the hardship Mion had to endure in the role of class representative.
ありがとな、ミオン。
何が？
いや、こんなにきつい仕事一人で任せてたりしてさ。
別にこんなの全然平気だよ。
Oh, don't worry, Keiichi. You'll have plenty of time later on in your life to make up for this. You know, being her second half and all that.
おじさん、こう見えて意外に体育会系だからね。
いや、それは意外じゃない。見たまんまだ。
Actually, if I were to release the thoughts accumulating in my brain, I'd point my finger and shout, "Doubt it!"
ケイちゃん、なんなら一人で全部やる。いい運動になるよ。
あ、いや、今のは冗談。うわーっと。
All of a sudden, Mion grabbed another chalk bag and tossed it at me. The weight of 3 bags isn't that unreasonable, but taking on such a heavy load so suddenly... My waist! Keep your back straight!
ほらほら、どうした前原委員長。いきなりここでダウンですか？
鬼！
だって鬼だもん。園崎の子だからね。
Mion cheerfully laughed as she said that. But there was no heart in it, and she looked more tense than usual. Why?
つうか、これならレナたちも呼んだ方が早かったかもな。
何よ、おじさん一人じゃ不足っての？
You wouldn't say that your future wife is insufficient, wouldn't you, my Bara? You're not even helping at the moment. I silently criticized her, but in the end, having someone else around does make the work easier than doing it in total silence. Although, the load is rather heavy.
まあ、初めはそう思
Heavy
って
and
声
noisy.
かけたんだけどね。そしたら、みーちゃんの邪魔はしたくないよ。はう。
See?
ってさ。
See? Reina knows what's up.
なんだそれは。わけわからん。
本気で？
Stop thinking with your head downstairs and use your head upstairs, boy. Mion turned and stared straight at me. Regardless of what she says, how can I understand something I don't understand? Well, the good news, Keiichi, is your ignorance can be cured over time. You'll come to understand eventually. And shortly after you do, may this world be blessed with its version of Dante from Devil May Cry. You know, being a half-demon and all that. Your squeeze here being a demon. Wink wink.
はあ。ケイちゃん、
なんだよ。
もう一個くらい持てるよね。
Sure he can!
私取ってくるから。
あ？
Hold on. Carrying 4 is totally absurd. Absolutely impossible. With that attitude, it certainly will be. But Mion rushed to the school gate where the mountain of chalk bags were placed. Then she lifted one up, dashed toward me at tremendous speed, and shouted, "Hiya!" as she threw it at me with full momentum.
おお、いいちぎだね、ケイちゃん。てっきり避けるかと思ったのにさ。
Don't be absurd! If I failed to catch a chalk bag thrown at that speed, it would burst as it hit the ground and cover my entire body in white powder. Are you trying to make this like one of those competition shows on TV? You know, now that I think about it, I would like to see Keiichi have a go at Ninja Warrior.
さて、ケイちゃんへの罰ゲームも済んだことだし、さっさと運び込むよ。
After saying that, Mion turned her back and started walking toward the storehouse, leaving me about to collapse holding these chalk bags. I felt like I was making massive thuds with every step I took. But I'm sure that's just my imagination. No, I'm sure it's real. The ground shakes with every step you take. Because you're just that heavy. I don't understand. She seemed to be in a good mood just a little while ago, so why am I being punished? Maybe that's because, well, but never mind.
着いた
My whole body was drenched in sweat as Mion and I brought over the last of the chalk bags. In the end, I only ended up doing the first trip entirely on my own. After that, Mion carried one bag each trip. Wimp! Keiichi, not Mion. Incidentally, I was carrying 3 bags at a time. You should do 4, wimp! So of course, I was completely exhausted. I'll sleep well tonight. You will only sleep when you're dead.
よっこいしょった
I carefully placed the 3 bags of chalk in front of the storehouse, and then immediately collapsed to the ground. The sweat that had been oozing out of my entire body suddenly began flowing like a waterfall. Disgusting.
お疲れ助かったぜミオン
ああ、それはまだ早い。これを中に入れ終わってからお疲れ様だよ。
Mion pulled the rattling handle on the heavy door as she said that, and stepped inside while carrying one of the bags. When I saw that, I rose to my feet and brushed the dirt off my shorts, then picked up one of the chalk bags. The room had been sealed until just now, so it was filled with hot, humid air. The musty smell pierced right through my nose. When I took a peek inside, I saw Mion looking around for a place to stack these bags.
あ、ミオンそこ危ないぞ
I called out to her, but it wasn't in time. Mion tripped and fell on a hurdle lying on the ground. That's not how you go over a hurdle, Mion. She dropped the chalk bag she was carrying, and white powder burst out as it hit the ground, then danced in the air. I could see that cloud of chalk moonwalking as we speak, in my mind.
いった
大丈夫かミオン
I could see Mion coughing beyond the white smoke that partially obscured my vision. So I rushed into the storehouse and reached my hand out, searching for a light switch.
ダメ、ケイちゃん電気つけないで
えわ
As soon as I turned toward Mion, a round object hit me directly in the face. Oof! I hope it's not a bowling ball. I cried out in a weird voice and fell back with my with my chalk bag still in hand. Fortunately, the pile of bags broke my fall.
何するんだミオン
ごめん、痛かった
Mion rushed over, still coughing and covered in chalk. I could tell from the apologetic look on her face that she wasn't angry, but did she hit me with a volleyball? Well, it's a ball of some kind. So, I was half right. Is that normal? For Mion? Yeah, I'd say so.
だってケイちゃん、密室で細かい粉が舞い上がった時に電気つけるのご法度なんだよ。粉塵爆発って言ってね、火薬並みの威力があるんだからさ。
Does that actually work? Does it actually work that way? I mean, we're talking about chalk. Huh? Really? Then if I had actually turned on the light just now.
つけた瞬間、火花が飛んで着火。
No way, it's just chalk.
倉庫の屋根が吹っ飛ぶね。たまやーってか。
冗談じゃない。
Correction, Mion. We wouldn't be watching the fireworks. We would be the fireworks. Soaring high in the sky.
そんなの直撃で食らったら、俺たちだってひとたまりもないぞ。
だから止めたんだよ。
Mion, just be honest and just say that you just wanted to throw a ball at his face. Just because.
あ、でもボール投げたのはやりすぎた。ごめんね。
Although, depending on how you think about it, you might say Mion saved my life. Instead of apologizing to me, I should be the one thanking her.
あ、でもミオン、よくそんなこと知ってたな。
You know, now that I think about it, if a little light inside a shed like that could theoretically cause ignition like that, then wouldn't sunlight have already done that? You know, since these bags were already outside right before we brought. Wait, no, because they're sealed. But then why would you take them out? The chalk, I mean. If sunlight could cause them to potentially ignite like that. Again, am I just missing something here? Am I just having a moment of stupid right now? Is my brain just not comprehending something it should?
学校じゃ習わないだろ。
うん、昔ね。ダム工事の反対運動やってた時に、軍事インストラクターの人にいろいろと教わったんだよ。危険物の取り扱い方とか、まあいろんな雑学ってやつをね。
And military used chalk?
軍事って。
軍事って言ってもそんな大げさなもんじゃないよ。ほとんどが消防隊の人が知ってることの延長とか、応急手当の仕方とか、ドンパチのやり方ってよりも怪我人が出た時のための対策だね。
Mion laughed after saying that. Indeed, in unusual circumstances like natural disasters or armed conflicts, military knowledge provides more than just the means to defeat your enemies. It's also effective at protecting your allies. And moreover, I'm certain these were necessary skills that Mion and the others learned in order to face off against a large-scale organization and the damn opposition movement. But the word military still feels really heavy for someone like me, who hasn't been involved in anything like that. Well, if you marry into a Yakuza family, I'm sure you'll have plenty of opportunities to work in something similar. In that sense, I couldn't help but see the level of difference between me and Mion, considering she had lived through the earlier conflicts in Hinamizawa.
ん？どうしたの、ケイちゃん？
いや別に。なんかすげえなって素直に感心しただけ。
おじさんの実力をなめちゃいけないよ。トラップに関してはこの粉塵爆発も含めてSatakoに教え込んだのはこの私。
Oh, so you're telling me that you were Satako's sensei in trap making, Mion? You were the one that created the little terror known as the Trap Master?
学校の勉強はいまいちだけど、実学主義者の肩書きは伊達じゃない。
言ってて恥ずかしくないか？
Either that, or maybe it's just this one particular trick, and well, because if it's that, I could totally believe that too. Ah, she turned red.
ああ、もう髪まで世界でドロドロだよ。ちょっと洗ってきてもいい？
もう戻ってもいいぞ、ミオン。あとは俺がやっておくから。
Or you could use this opportunity to go grab a hose and hose her down, Keiichi. Why not?
そう？あ、じゃあなんか飲み物持ってきてあげる。
お、よく冷えたやつを頼む。
はいよ。よく冷えたマヨネーズね。
俺はマヨラーじゃねえ。
You got a problem with mayonnaise, Keiichi? Mion laughed while rushing to the school building. As I watched her head out, I suddenly recalled a story I heard about Mion earlier. What, one involving mayonnaise?
Hinamizawa, Sonozaki ka.
I thought back on what I heard at the banquet yesterday evening. It's customary for children born to the Sonozaki family to have the kanji for demon in their name. Like the current family head, Oryu-san. And even though she lost her position, that also applied to Akane-san. Her name used to be written. And then, there's Mion. That's probably a testament to the fact that the three families symbolize Hinamizawa, or Onikofuchi as it used to be called, and it demonstrates the weight of that responsibility. Mion doesn't talk about it, but I've heard that she received strict education as the future family head from her grandmother, Oryu-san. And Mion had been fighting on behalf of the villagers as an influential leader during the dam opposition movement. Suddenly I began to think, what was my life like at the time Mion was fighting alongside adults on behalf of this village? That was 5 years before I came to this village. I was stupid and selfish, never thinking about the people around me. I'm ashamed to even remember what a terrible child I was. Meanwhile, Mion was enduring a painful battle. The difference between us was like heaven and earth. There's simply no way I can catch up. But that's why I'll do my best. I want to do something. That way, I'm sure. Oh, come on, Keiichi. Would it really be such a problem for you to always refer to Mion as your better half? After a brief sigh, I lifted one of the chalk bags beside me. I almost said inside me. I'm like, Jesus, man, why do you have that there? For starters, let's get this job done. Before I realized it, my heavy limbs began to feel lighter. Before long, class came to an end. Club activities were canceled today due to Mion's part-time job.
いや、吉郎おじさんのところで欠員ができたっていうからさ、急遽ヘルプってわけ。
Uncle Yoshiro. She means Angel Mort. I believe that is indeed the case, yeah, if I remember correctly. Come to think of it, she's no longer trying to hide her part-time job as a waitress. She was embarrassed about it at first. She said, "You can never tell Reina and the others. If the secret gets out, I'll feed you a full course of 48 murder skills, okay?" Ah, ho! Being murdered 48 times, huh? Sounds like a masochist's wet dream right there. Incidentally, Shion's existence became a well-known fact among the club members the very next day. It turns out I let the secret slip through a misunderstanding, and as thanks for that, I ended up suffering 26 of those 48 skills. So you should be a zombie, so you should be a ghost 26 times over, yeah? So either you discovered the path, the path to the secret to immortality, excuse me, not the path, or her 48 murder skills aren't exactly all that lethal. Which is it, Keiichi? Let's forget about that. I'd rather not. Anyway, Reina said she was going treasure hunting and headed home. Well, I guess it's okay for her to head home on her own from time to time.
Keiichi?
Huh?
Hello, my partner in crime. When I turned back toward the voice calling out to me, I found Rika-chan.
今からお帰りですか？
ああ、そうだけど。
それなら一緒に帰ってくださいなのです。
We got to discuss battle strategies. Together? Isn't Rika-chan's house in the opposite direction from mine?
お話があるのです。一緒に帰ってくれますか？
We gotta make plans on how to kill the nurse! That's right. Rika-chan made a mysterious request the night before last, and I promised her I'd help. I certainly haven't forgotten. But Rika-chan has been acting completely normal since then, so I never asked her about it.
わかった。どこに行く？
ちょっと遠くなるかもしれませんが、フルデ神社でもいいですか？
Then, we ascended the stone steps and arrived at the Furude Shrine grounds. The shrine itself was in direct sunlight, so Rika-chan found a cool place in the shade and took a seat on a large stone. I sat down beside her on a flat part of the stone. I pulled out the cider and grape juice bottles we bought at a candy shop along the way, and popped them open with a corkscrew from the assembly hall. I handed Rika-chan the grape juice and kept the cider for myself.
ん？どうしたリカちゃん。
Not a fan of grape juice?
なんでもないのです。
Oh yeah, that's right, you drink wine. I imagine plain old grape juice must not agree with your palate all that much.
ケイチ、僕はそっちのサイダーでもいいですか？
え？ああ、いいぜ。ほら。
As I said that, I swapped my cider for her grape juice bottle. That sweet, mellow scent I hadn't tasted in such a long time was soothing on my sweaty body in the heat of the sun. The cry of the cicadas came pouring down from the tall trees lined up around us. It was a relaxing countryside scene, like something you'd see in a picture. However, Rika-chan was playing with the gravel by her feet, after wearing a tense expression the whole way here. When I saw that, my mood quickly tightened up.
それでリカちゃん、話って。
ケイチにとって最悪の未来は何ですか？
Rika-chan looked up at me as she asked that.
最悪？
I immediately caught my breath and felt bewildered by his sudden question. Rika-chan did ask me earlier about the things I hold dear, and now she was asking me about the worst possible future on the completely opposite end of the spectrum. I paused for a moment to think about the worst thing for me would be, and then I answered.
そうだな。以前、確か俺、大切なものについて答えたよな。だから、それが失われることが起きたら、最悪だと思う。
That's right. Mion, Rina, Satako, Shion, and Rika-chan. If my precious friends suddenly disappeared, I'd probably go back to the empty, meaningless life I used to have in Tokyo. Just imagining it filled me with disgust.
ケイチ、サトコのこと好きですか？
She makes me laugh, so yes.
え？
Another unusual question. But Rika-chan's maintained her serious expression, making it clear she wanted me to answer sincerely.
ああ、大好きだぜ。
So I answered her directly without trying to hide anything or feeling self-conscious. She's a little brash, she loves mischief, and even though she tries really hard to act like an adult, she's quite a spoiled child. I don't know how many of her awful traps I've witnessed, or been ensnared by. I thought back on that little brat's impertinent laugh. The best laugh there is. However, Satako is actually a kind and caring girl. And I think it's amazing that she has the strength to live her life without showing any darkness, despite suffering the tragedy of losing her parents and brother. She's fun to hang out with. It's lonely when she's not around. We haven't known each other very long, but I consider her friendship an essential part of my current life.
その聡子が近い将来にひどく傷つけられるとしたらどうしますか？
I'd break the ankles of whoever hurt her, naturally.
決まってる。そいつを見つけ出してぶっ飛ばす。
I answered reflexively, without waiting to think. I wondered if I had spoken too crudely, but Rika-chan didn't look the least bit surprised. She responded with her usual nipa smile.
この世界のケイイチもそう思ってくれて嬉しいのです。だから聡子を助けるために力を貸してください。
You show me the ankles, I will smash.
ああ、それはもちろん。でも、聡子の身に何か起こるのか？
聡子の叔父のこと、何か聞いていますか？
I quietly tilted my head. I haven't actually heard anything about Sadako's family, aside from the fact that her parents are gone.
聡子には、鉄平という叔父がいます。そして鉄平は、今沖宮で、リナという女性と暮らしています。
Rika-chan continued her explanation in a dispassionate tone, but a slight frown on her face suggested that she didn't like this Teppei guy.
今、戸籍上では、鉄平が聡子の養育権を持っています。と言っても、去年まで一緒に暮らしていた時は、聡子は、ひどい扱いを受けていましたが。
ひどい扱い？どんな？
When I asked that, Rika-chan bitterly continued her explanation. The content of the story put me at a loss for words, and my fists were trembling. Satako and her brother Satoshi were taken in by her uncle after the death of their parents. Of course, Sadako's house was full of belongings, so it was easier to move in there rather than taking the kids elsewhere. Back then, her aunt and uncle had a well-known problem among the village. The two of them would apparently vent their own frustrations by terribly abusing Satako and her brother. Her brother Satoshi endured the worst of the treatment, while covering for Satako, who was still too young to endure it. Then last year, on the night of Watanagashi, their situation deteriorated to the point that their aunt was murdered, and Satoshi was suspected of the crime, before disappearing from the village himself like he was being driven out. To think that cheerful girl Satako had a past like that. I tightly clenched my teeth. Anger, hatred, murderous intent, and other dark emotions came loose from within my heart. Don't let those run away with you right now, Keiichi. Bad things will happen if you do. We already got like 2 different arcs showing where that leads. Satako was hurt, to the point where life isn't worth living. And the man responsible abandoned Satako to go enjoy a selfish, blissful life.
Keiichi.
Then, Rika-chan gently placed a hand on my tightly clenched fist. It was soft and warm. When I turned to look, Rika-chan silently shook her head.
聡子のために、そこまで怒ってくれるのは嬉しいのです。本当に嬉しいのです。でも、これから圭一にお願いしたいのは、仕返しでも、暴力でもないのです。
I can dish out justice.
もっともっと難しくて、そして、聡子が一番幸せになれる方法なのです。
一番幸せに？
圭一、たとえ鉄平がいなくなっても、圭一がいなくなる世界では、聡子は幸せになれないのです。
Well, let's be real here. I mean, would anyone in any world be happy without Keiichi in it? He's kind of like the sun in nature. one of those elements that is just absolutely essential to life and the preservation of happiness. Life, because, well, we need heat in order to survive, number one. Happiness, because, well, I mean, it's the sun. It provides warmth. Why wouldn't that make someone happy?
だから、あなたがいて、そして、里子が幸せになれる方法を探さなくてはいけないのです。
I can dish out great justice with my own 2 hands and my own 2 feet and my own single head. While I'm here. I'm not using the word violence, so it's not violence. See? I can use euphemisms. I listened to what Rika-chan had to say. Something anomalous stabbed at the inside of my chest. A world without me. Just then, as I hastily considered denying Teppei's existence, an unpleasant ending jumped into my mind. My boiling hot emotions gradually cooled down. Though this was only a hypothetical world, I clearly felt that would never be the right choice. If only you knew how wrong you were about the hypothetical part.
わかった。それで
鉄平は今沖宮で暮らしていますが、おそらく近いうちにHinamizawaに戻ってきます。それは彼の生活費を稼いでいる同居人、Mamiya Rinaという女が殺されるからです。
殺される
I jumped as soon as I heard her say that word.
殺されるって、いくら予言でも穏やかじゃないぞ。それに、なんでそのリナってやつが殺されることになるんだ？
リナは今、園崎系列の店で働いています。そして、今日から数日後、系列店で集められた上納金を狙って強盗を働くのですが、そこは暴力団の詰め所なのです。結果、彼らは失敗。そしてリナは逃げ遅れて組員の手で確保され、殺されるのです。
How reckless. The callous tone of Rika-chan said all this and sent a chill down my back. Well, I mean, that's kind of what happens when you steal from organized crime groups like the Yakuza. They don't fuck around, and they definitely do not like it when you try to steal from them. And they will make you pay for it. Dearly. Even I can tell how dangerous it is to steal money from an organized crime group. And the sort of retribution they'd receive if their plan failed. Just imagining it terrified me. Still, does that mean this Rina person is so desperate for money that she resort to that?
あ、でも、それで鉄平がHinamizawaに戻ってくると、里子とどういう関係が？
鉄平が帰ってくれば、当然、北条家に居座ろうとする。その際、家事が一切できない鉄平は、里子を探し出して、連れ帰る。いえ、連れ去ってしまうのです。
え？
実はこの事件は、今までの世界でも、めったに起こらないものでした。
Indeed, there have actually been some worlds where Teppei can do housework. I'm joking.
だから、僕も起きた時は、運が悪かった。そう思っていたのです。
However, Rika-chan continued.
昨日、図書館でMamiya Rinaを見かけました。そこで、嫌な話を聞いたのです。
It was a total coincidence. Satako invited me to find a book to read over the summer break, and when we went to the library together, I noticed her face over in the reading area. The overbearing scent of perfume drifted over. Her flashy and revealing outfit made clear that was her job. I only saw her face once in a world long ago. But I'll never forget it. Because Satako and Rina both suffered, thanks to Mamiya. Rina was together with several young men, and they were all sitting around a circular table to hide their faces, discreetly talking to one another. There were many thick books piled on the table, but I could tell immediately they were nothing but camouflage. It was clearly a peculiar sight. There are very few people in the hall in the evening, and nobody else can see into the reading area. Normally, Rina and her crew would make a lot of noise with no regard for bothering anyone else. But did she have to gather in a dim and sober place before that?
リカ、走れメロスは見つかりましたか？
まだなのです。僕はこっちを探してみますです。
I hid behind the bookshelf and searched for the book while approaching Rina's location to listen in. The Rina of this world shouldn't know my face, so I considered boldly heading over to the reading area to check out the children's books, but I decided to be careful. I could faintly hear their voices, with occasional laughter mixed in. And as I approached the closest possible vantage point, I could hear them clearly.
でもよ、俺らヤバくね？上納金に手をつけるなんてバレたら間違いなくこれだぞ。
The man tapped his neck with his palm as he said that. It seemed like he was trying to make a joke, but the pale look on his face didn't seem like he was laughing.
実際いろんな噂を聞くけどさ、うまくいった例なんてほとんどなしって話だぞ。
なら別にいいんだよ、抜けても。あんたのたまりにたまった借金、もう利子だけでも普段の給料じゃ払いきれないだろうけどね。
そうだけどよ。
あんたも、それからあんたも知ってるかい？あんたら上から目つけられてんだよ。しのぎも同僚と比べてちんけなもんだし、いつ首切られてもおかしくないしね。
うるせえ。あんただって似たようなもんだろ。
あたし？残念でした。この山に乗らなくても生活に困ることはないしね。
だよ、あの中年極潰しにそれだけの解消があるってのかよ。
中年？ああ、鉄のこと？んなわけないじゃん。私みたいに器量よしの人間はちゃんと他に有料物件いくつもこさえてるのさ。
おい、声が大きいぞ。
One of the men scanned their surroundings after saying that. His eyes seemed to focus on me for a moment, but I guess he thought I was just a kid and didn't care.
大丈夫だって。もう残ってるのガキばっかじゃん。聞かれたって分かりしないよ。
そうだけどよ。
Joke's on you. She's old. She is hundreds of times older than you, probably.
何神経質になってんのさ。ここは園崎につながりがない唯一の場所なんだからね。わざわざ調べて選んでやったんだから、ちった腹くくれっての。
Stupid as always, Rina. It's true that this library is one of the few places not patronized by the Sonozakis, but I can't believe they don't recognize how much they stand out here. In all likelihood, the higher-ups among the Sonozakis will learn about this private conversation in just a few days. These people of Rina don't comprehend the terror of the Sonozaki family. I see. So this is the reason Rina Mamiya is murdered. I wanted to say as much to the pathetic woman standing right before my eyes. They were like insects, dancing innocently on an iron plate that'll soon be drenched in scorching heat.
ともかく、ポン、ヤスケ。あんたたちは足の手配を。 シュウはこのキーチェーンの鍵全部を明日7時までにコピーして店長の机の引き出しに戻しておきな。抜かるんじゃないよ。
おう、任せておけって。
ブルってんじゃないよ。これがうまくいきゃ私たちは一気に大金持ちさね。こんなひなびた田舎町とっとと出て行って海外で豪遊と行こうじゃないか。
If you morons actually believe she's gonna share this money with you, you deserve what's coming your way. I'm sorry. Their subservient laughter was plain to hear, like they were no longer trying to hold back their voices. Then I went back to Satako, pretending to be oblivious.
最低の野郎どもだな。
I answered completely frankly. Whether Rika-chan felt the same way or not, she said, meep, with a slightly distorted smile on her face. I think we can take that as a meep of agreement.
でも、そうと分かったら、殺させるわけにもいかないよな。サトコが、鉄平って野郎に連れ去られるわけにはいかないし。
Well, I'm sure we could just go grab some rope, a ball gag, a blindfold, and maybe a potato sack for good measure to cover her entire head, just to be doubly sure in case the blindfold is slightly see-through, and then just hold her somewhere for a few days, no? Surely that would work? I started thinking ahead about the possibility of convincing Rina to give up on this heist. Actually, no, scratch that. A ball gag would be too dignified for her. Stuff her mouth with a dirty sock. Or if she's unwilling, force her to abandon it and go on living. But that's no good. Even if she's still alive, she'll end up leaving Okinomiya. Which means...
いえ、このままでいいのです。
She shall be a sacrifice for the greater good.
え？
間宮里奈は、このまま僕たちが黙っていれば、盗みに入るでしょう。そして、死んでもらうのです。
So cold and simple. Rika-chan drank a slightly strained gulp of cider after saying that.
死んでもらうのです。
Her words were so cruel and brutal I didn't sound like Rika-chan. I was surprised at how easily she could say that, with such an emotionless expression. Then...
けど、リカちゃん？もしリナが殺されたら、鉄平がひなみ沢に帰ってくるんだろ？そうなったら、サトコがおじに連れ去られるって、今リカちゃんが言ったじゃないか。
言いましたのです。サトコは鉄平に連れ去られてしまうのです。おそらく確実に。
だったらリナがいなくなって鉄平がひなみ沢に帰ってこないよう予防策を張った方がサトコのためじゃないか。それともサトコを鉄平に連れ去られないような秘策でもあるってのか？
秘策は特にありませんです。それに鉄平は戸籍上サトコの扶養者ですから、鉄平が行ってきたらサトコは鉄平の元に返さなくてはいけないのです。
Then all the more reason why we should do something, don't you think?
冗談じゃない。それなら。
ケイチ、よく聞いてください。
Total rejection. Rika-chan cut me off with strong tone and spoke to me with an earnest expression.
僕はお願いしましたのです。もっともっと難しくて、そしてサトコが一番幸せになれる方法を考えてほしいと、ちゃんと覚えてくれていましたか？
でも、だったらなんでサトコをおじのそばに置こうって企むんだ？このままだとサトコが不幸になるのはほとんど確定じゃないか。
これはサトコのためにも必要なことなのです。
couldn't understand. How could living for abusive uncle benefit Satako? Well, I'm pretty sure her line of reasoning can be summed up as the night is always darkest before the dawn.
もしかして、そのおじは一緒に住んだら、貞子のことを可愛がってくれるとか
No.
全く逆なのです。毎日貞子は怒鳴られ、こき使われて、去年と同じくらいか、もっとひどい状態になってしまいます。
おちょくってるのか、リカちゃん。それでもそのおじのところに貞子を渡せってのか。
はいなのです。これは貞子と圭一のためにとても必要なことなのです。
With a friend like this, who needs enemies, am I right? Then, Rika-chan went on to explain. After Satako was taken away by her uncle, the club members and I all united together to help her by appealing to the Child Consultation Center. Still, the consultation center wouldn't take any action, and Sadako's situation was deteriorating day by day. Gotta love the bureaucracy! They're masters at being inefficient. Unable to bear it, Keiichi Maebara enlisted the aid of the entire village to shine a light on Teppei's mistreatment of Satako. Wait a minute, isn't this part of Chapter 8? Chapter 8's events? In the end, with the help of the police, and even the Sonozaki family who had always seen the Hojo as enemies, Teppei was arrested and Satako was saved.
それって一体。
貞子が連れ去られた後、圭一たちが実際にやり遂げた奇跡です。そして圭一はこのことをきっかけに村全体の信頼を集め、貞子はようやく村の人たちに受け入れてもらえるようになる。結果はハッピーエンドなのです。
It was all just a hypothetical story, but Rika-chan described it so realistically and persuasively, I felt like I could actually see it. And as further evidence of that, Rika maintained a stoic expression the entire time, never smiling. Though she seemed to be trying to stay expressionless, her small fists tightly clenching at her knees were sweaty and stained in red.
じゃあ、リカちゃん。俺はどうすれば。
もし貞子がひどい状態になっても、短絡的な行動は我慢してほしいのです。そして暴走しそうな部活メンバーを率いて懲戒、そして園崎家と戦って協力を勝ち取ってください。そうすれば最終的に貞子は救われるのです。
つまり今は貞子を見捨てろと。
For the first time, Rika-chan's dark eyes were illuminated by flames of rage. When I saw her reaction, I resolved my convictions and answered her. Well, even if I didn't have these things to tell me which was actually the correct getting tongue twisted. The correct option to select, I would have selected to refuse anyway. I'm going to choose the incorrect one because according to the little flowchart that I got, this will lead me to the first bad end of this route, so I will just go ahead and do just that, so we can get that out of the way, and then once we do that, come back here and do things correctly next time.
それで、貞子は救われるんだな。
Apologies in advance, Satako. Rika-chan nodded her head with a grim expression. Even so, I stared at the bottle in my hands, unable to suppress my hesitation.
わかった。それが一番いい方法なら、リカちゃんの言う通りにしよう。いいんだよな、それで。
お願いしますのです。里子には少しの間辛い思いをさせてしまいますが、きっと。
As she said that, Rika-chan tightly clenched her bottle and bit at her lip. I couldn't say anything more as I endured this, so I simply drank the rest of my grape juice in one gulp. My throat ached, and it probably wasn't just because of the slimy sweetness. We continued sitting silently for a while, but eventually I noticed it was getting dark, so I rose to my feet.
それじゃあ、俺は帰るよ。また明日。
I made my way out of the shrine grounds with mixed feelings. I looked back as I descended the stone steps, and Rika-chan was still there, looking depressed. I believed in Rika-chan's words and decided to follow her lead. Honestly, I was still hesitant, wondering if this passive approach was actually for the best. It's not. And I felt ashamed of myself for keeping quiet while Satako was feeling miserable. But Rika-chan said this was the best way to avoid an unhappy future, so as long as I believe that, I'll put all my strength into doing what I can. By sitting on my ass and doing nothing. For now. And then the prophecy. Or maybe I should call it a divine premonition. Events afterwards unfolded precisely according to what Rika-chan said. Rina Mamiya's corpse was discovered in the village. The village, huh? That's definitely different from how it usually plays out. And immediately afterwards, Satako's uncle returned and took her to the Hojo household. Rina and Shion were furious when they learned that, and they wanted to rescue Satako immediately, but I did my best to calm them down and convince them to help Satako through legal means. We all rushed to the Okinomiya Child Consultation Center to complain about Satako's situation. As class representative and Mion's close friend, I had apparently become well known throughout the village. I was able to gather the village's support even faster than Rika-chan expected, and even managed to win over Oryu Sonozaki. I just like how they're just quickly skimming and glossing over these events. It's like they just want you to know, hey, you made the wrong decision here, and we're going to make sure that you know this because we're just going to skim over this stuff. As a result, and thanks to the efforts of so many people, we succeeded in rescuing Satako from her uncle just a few days later. However, the Satako we rescued was no longer the original Satako. She was a body snatcher! I don't understand why. Rika-chan simply shook her head with a pale expression. Nevertheless, Satako would never show us her old smile again. She was just laying in the bed at the clinic, staring up at the ceiling with vacant eyes that had lost their luster. No matter who spoke to her, she just looked like a doll. The effort progressed even faster than Rika-chan expected, but it still caused her heart to collapse. In the end, were we too late? Even in a situation like this, even telling our friends the truth would do nothing to reassure them. As a last resort, Rika-chan relied on Sonozaki family to keep her out of Takano's hands. But the mountain dogs kidnapped Satako, so Rika-chan gave herself up in exchange. What happened after that? I was killed shortly afterwards, so I'll never know. Are you kidding me? That's it? That was anticlimactic. No, this was anticlimactic even by bad end standards for what I've seen in the console arcs. Like, holy shit, there was almost no effort at all put into this. That was my disappointment. It's immeasurable. So much so that my day is ruined. Alright, whatever. Let's just do the correct option this time. I mean, I guess I should probably be glad that it actually ended up being so short in all due honesty, so that means there's a lot less extra content that I have to sit through. At least that way we can get to the actual good stuff without having to wait too long. Keiichi must think me a cold woman. Honestly, I'm reluctant to do this. But I've been thinking it over since I saw Rina in the library. Satako will be taken by her uncle Teppei, and she'll be mentally cornered. I always thought that was the worst case scenario. Whenever this happens, Keiichi, or maybe Shion or Reina, would almost certainly resort to violence to eliminate Teppei. And, as a result, their guilt over the murder causes them to distrust everyone around them, before ultimately destroying themselves. And since I'm unable to talk to them, I ultimately end up killed by Takano's hands. I thought that chain of events could never be broken. So, anytime the world went in that direction, I simply called it bad luck and gave up. And yet, Keiichi spectacularly overcame that detestable scenario in the previous world through his own beliefs and actions. He saved Satako, and then, even beautifully, ended the mistreatment the villagers used to give her. No, I remember now. The events I'm thinking about where Keiichi manages to get the whole village to help Satako out, I think that actually happened in Chapter 7. Because it was after we managed to pull that off that everything went to absolute hell once we found out the truth behind Tomotake's murder. And then I realized the scenario I always considered the worst case possible actually brought me closer to the goal than any before it. In order to reach that, we have to abandon Satako.
つまり今は里子を見捨てろと。
When Keiichi said that, I couldn't hide my anger. Not against Keiichi, but against myself, for settling on such a helpless, pitiful, and ruthless idea. Would Satako be angry if she knew the truth? Well, I'd imagine she wouldn't be happy. Would she hold a grudge? Would she hate me?
対極的に見ればなんて勝手な言い分だと思います。だから僕のこの判断を正しいと認めてもらいたいわけじゃないのです。でも他にいい方法が見つからない以上この選択しか思いつかないのです。
I already provided an alternative that involves tying and subduing and stuffing a dirty sweaty sock down her mouth. Why don't we just do that and just see and just go from there? See what happens.
だからケイイチ、あなたはこの先 感情的にならないでほしいのです。
I would get as emotional as a football stadium if I have to.
それと、それ以外にも、シーとレナはサトコを助けようと、強硬策に出るでしょう。これを何としても、あなたの力で止めてもらいたいのです。だから、
ダメだな。
However, Keiichi retorted with enough force in his voice to knock me over.
リカちゃんの言いたいことは分かった。だけど、それって要するに駆け引きだろ？そんなの俺には似合わないし、したくもない。だから、リカちゃんの予言する未来が、たとえ本当だとしても、俺は悪いけど、ごめんだね。
ケイチ。
サトコが村の連中から白い目で見られてるってのは以前聞いた。ダム工事の賛成派がサトコの両親だって話だよな。でもだからって、その方法でしかあいつを救ってやれないってのは変だと思う。他にもいい機会があるかもしれないし、それに俺は別に村の連中にそんなやり方で信頼されたいなんて思わない。
村の人たちを一つにまとめなければ、この先の敵と戦えない。その敵に勝てなければ、みんなが不幸になる。それでも、ですか。
言っただろ。俺はそんな運命、信じちゃいないって。敵がどういう奴かはまだわからないけど、俺たちの幸せをぶち壊そうとする奴は絶対に許さないし、そのためだったら、村の連中を全員説得して回ることだってしてみせる。
I lowered my eyes while letting out a disappointed sigh. I thought he was an idiot, but not to this extent.
むしろ、教えない方が良かったのかもしれません。
いや、教えてくれてよかったぜ。リカちゃんだって、サトコを本当はおじの野郎なんかに渡したくないんだろ？
なら、どんな手段があるというのですか？
決まってる。サトコがその鉄平に連れ去られないよう、リナの盗みを防ぐ方法を考えるさ。
I was slightly disappointed by that expected answer. I've been constantly considering that before coming here. I don't want to abandon Satako. I didn't even want to think about seeing those empty, lifeless eyes again. I feel like I'm being torn apart. But I really can't find another way. Rina and Mamiya's plan will either succeed, fail, or be abandoned. But how on earth could we make her do that?
ケイチ、盗みを防ぐと言っても、リナを殺させず、しかも成功して沖宮から出ていかないようにするためには、そうなると、警察や園崎組の関係者にも相談できません。どうやって防ぐつもりですか？
In response to my inquiry, Keiichi laughed and folded his arms, then grinned. How detestable. If he gives his usual I'll keep thinking about answer, I'll smack him with this bottle.
リカちゃん、忘れたか？サトコのためだったら、力を確実に貸してくれる奴が、部活メンバーにいるじゃないか。
When I realized who he was referring to, I lightly sighed. I've already made my assumptions about how that scenario would play out. Indeed, there is a person with connections to the Sonozaki Group and a desire to help Sako under any circumstances. Shion Sonozaki. However...
C にどうやって伝えますか？そもそも暴力団はメンツを非常に気にしますのです。もし組の若い連中が金庫を狙ってると知ったら、それだけでも生かして返すわけにはいかなくなります。そうなると結局、リナは殺されるしかなくなるのです。
まあ、普通に伝えたらな。でも、もしリナたちの計画が、初めからなかったものにしてしまえば、どうなる？
言ってる意味がよくわからないのです。
I think what he means is, why don't we have Shion, on our behalf, go talk to Rina and make her an offer she can't refuse? I had no idea what he was talking about. Keiichi, what on earth are you thinking? But...
任せてくれないか、リカちゃん。俺にいい考えがあるんだ。
Keiichi let out a fearless laugh after saying that. When I looked at his face, the guilt I felt about abandoning Satako, and the disgust I felt over my own helplessness, seemed so foolish, so strange.
な、リカちゃん。
Against my better judgment, I nodded to him. Well, I guess it's fine. This boy proclaimed that fate was as flimsy as a thin sheet of paper. What kind of miracle did he have in store? That I wanted to see. It better involve crushing ankles, or I will be very displeased. Rika-chan and I arrived at the location we discussed with Shion over the phone.
このブティックの角を曲がって。
ケイイチ、あれなのです。
I looked at the shop where Rika-chan was pointing. Sure enough, that was the coffee shop Shion told us about. The glass door was pitch black, so I couldn't tell what it was like inside. I've been to coffee shops with my parents on rare occasions, but something about the atmosphere of this place seemed to drive people away. Maybe the espresso was too strong. At least, judging by first impressions, it didn't seem like the sort of place children would be at.
それにしても。
Leave it to Shion to pick such a weird meeting place. Okinomiya is a decent-sized town. I'm sure it has plenty of cute coffee shops that Shion would like. With that in mind, I took another look around just in case this was a misunderstanding, but I didn't see any other coffee shops. I told her we needed to keep this secret from Mion and the others, so maybe she's just being cautious? Well, whatever. Wait, does Mion dislike coffee? I don't remember. There were signs taped to the dark windows saying that female customers get discounts on tea on certain days of the week. I could make a remark here, but I'm not going to. YouTube might get mad if I do. But even with that, it's such an odd-looking, dirty little store, I can't imagine that they get many female customers at all. As I pondered that, I suddenly noticed that Rika-chan was no longer standing by my side. She's standing on my head!
Rika-chan?
I looked up at the store and saw Rika-chan opening a door and walking in without any hesitation. So I quickly followed behind her and opened the dark glass door. Maybe she needs a caffeine boost, I don't know. The bell attached to the door let out a dull sound to announce the new visitors. I was hit by a nasty odor the moment I stepped inside. This coffee shop looks familiar. The interior is worse than I imagined. The cigarette smoke made the air somewhat cloudy and muddy. It was less like a coffee shop and more like a pachinko or mahjong parlor. For some reason, I imagined something like a coffee shop to be a place that's kind of like, I don't know, a specialty store where it just sells you different types of coffee beans and stuff like that for you to make your own brew, rather than just, you know, a place that serves you the drinks. I don't know why I thought that. I really should have expected the opposite. Nevertheless, in contrast to my clear hesitation, Rika-chan walked right up to the host behind the counter and looked up with her usual Nipa smile. The surly-looking host didn't seem surprised or confused, and gestured us toward a table in the corner. I looked around the seating area within the store. No matter how I looked at it, this didn't seem like a mere bar you visit to enjoy a smoke or a coffee. I couldn't see any of the other customers, but there were plenty of used cups and glasses along the counter by the seats. At any rate, the host put 2 glasses of water that didn't even contain ice on our table, then went back to the counter without waiting to hear our order, and turned on the TV.
シオンもひどいところに呼んでくれたな、まったく。
I blurred that out in a voice just quiet enough so the host couldn't hear. There were ring stains on the table, and it was apparently covered in dust. It didn't seem like it was wiped down at all, so I was hesitant to even rest my elbows on it.
Keiichi.
Rika-chan took a sip of her water and glanced over at the host, then leaned forward and moved in closer to me. The smile on her face immediately vanished, and she stared at me with a serious expression as she spoke.
本当にケイイチに任せて大丈夫なのですか?
Well, considering how the alternative turned out, I'd say yes. Yes, it definitely is.
ああ、もちろん。とりあえず練習はしてきたけど、リカちゃんも危なくなったらフォローよろしくな。
僕には先に教えてくれてもいいと思うのです。内緒にしても意味があるとは思えないのです。
Rika-chan furrowed her eyebrows as she said that, like she was in a bad mood. I haven't yet told Rika-chan about my secret plan to ask Shion for help in stopping Rina's scheme before it even begins. I thought we were already doing that. So why would you need to tell Rika about something that you two already decided to do? Am I missing something here? I wasn't quite certain of it, but that wasn't the only reason.
正直、俺はまだリカちゃんの言う運命ってやつを信じてない。だから見ててくれないか。リカちゃんが思うよりも運命は簡単に変えられるものだって証明してみせるからさ。
ケイイチは僕の言うことをまだ疑っているのですか？
いや違うな。信じてるからこそ変えられるってことを証明したい。別に我慢して受け入れなくても選択肢は山ほどあるってことをな。
わかりましたのです。
Rika-chan whispered that in response, seeming to be convinced for the time being.
それにシオンだって聡子のことが関係してると分かれば真剣に話を聞いてくれるはずだぜ。そのことをちゃんと教えておいた方がいいかもな。
Shion is usually teasing and making fun of her, but she really does care about Satako. That's why Satako is genuinely interacting with Shion, even though she acts irritated on the surface. And because of that relationship between them, I felt it would be best to speak frankly with Shion. But Rika-chan didn't seem to agree with that. She was hanging her head like she was troubled.
ケイイチは知らないと思いますが、C は目的を一つと決めたらどんな手段を選択することも迷いません。そんな C がもし聡子を苦しめた、あるいはこれから苦しめる相手がいると知ったらどうなりますか？
I think she would give Teppei an offer he can't refuse.
きっと間接的なやり方より直接的な手段を選ぶでしょう。もっと確実で一見効率的だと思える一つの選択で。
直接的、それって。
Okay, I could understand the first image that they used here, but why the second one of Shion having her brain splattered on the pavement? Unless he's worried that Teppei would fight back against her or something, I'm confused about that one's inclusion here. A terrible thought flashed through me in an instant, and my spine froze over. It was like an awful nightmare. Maybe I experienced that in another world? And, as if to confirm that, Rika-chan looked up at me and nodded.
リナさえいなければ、鉄平さえいなければ、そう考えた先に行き着く結論は、今圭一が思いついたものと同じなのです。そして、不幸を回避するために選んだはずの手段が、さらに別の不幸につながってしまう。
リカちゃん。
そんな世界があったのです。
Rika-chan had a meek expression as she said that. The look on her face seemed like she was remembering something so painful that my chest ached just looking at her.
じゃあ、サトコのことは黙ってるのか？
教えてもいいのですが、C の間違った優しさに火をつけかねない。それだけは、どんなことがあっても絶対にダメなのです。
リカちゃん。
C に暴走をさせないことも、今日の話では大事なことなのですよ。
Like usual, I didn't understand the intent behind Rika-chan's words. But I braced myself and endured. Right. Whether I believe what Rika-chan told me or not, if this Rina's woman's plan comes to fruition, she'll probably disappear from Okinomiya regardless of success or failure. And as a result, Teppei will return to the Hojo household and take Satako back for his own livelihood. According to Rika-chan, Sadako's life with her uncle last year was so awful that it couldn't even be put into words. Even now, I only half trusted Rika-chan's story. Still, even if there was only a 1% chance that Satako would suffer this misfortune, and will I be able to prevent that misfortune through my own actions? I don't even need to think about it. If Teppei Hojo is erased from this world, it'll come to an end.
いかんいかん。
I shook my head to cast aside the idea that just came to mind. Good boy. It certainly feels like a good idea, and it seems like the quickest and most efficient solution. At first glance, anyway. Nevertheless, I thought it over again. Was that really for the sake of Sadako's happiness? I said I was doing it for her sake, but somewhere deep in my heart, I heard myself screaming that was just to justify my guilty conscience.
そうだな。とりあえず、俺に任せてくれ。
Now, from here on, it's my game to win or lose. As I began to think that, I heard the clatter of the bell on the door. Is that you, scary twin sister? Shion? No, it's the scary twin sister's handler. Close enough. When I glanced at the entrance, it was someone else. A rugged-looking man, perfect for a store like this. How you doing, Kasai? He was fully dressed in a black suit, with black sunglasses to hide his eyes. His clothing and harsh look made him completely invisible to the general public. It was clearly an unusual form of intimidation. Even though I say he looks like a bad guy, he's not on the same level as delinquents or scary people. He clearly had the aura of the Yakuza. When the host noticed the man, he rushed to turn off the TV, then rubbed his hands together while greeting the man, with an expression completely unlike what he showed to us.
どうも、いらっしゃいませ。
Could he be irregular? Or was there some hierarchy to their relationship? Could be both. The man in the suit calmly looked over to the store, then looked up at the menu board hanging on the wall.
マスター。
はい。何でしょうか？
Sweat ran down the host's forehead. He did his best to plaster a tense smile on his sweaty face. He's the host of this store. He should be used to the sort of people who lead an underhanded life. This must be somebody special to make the host this nervous.
あれだ、その。
はい？
スイートなんとかというのは、今日はやっているのか？
あ、もちろんやっています。すぐにご用意しますので。
The host, who was clearly nervous about inadvertently saying something improper, looked relieved as he rushed to the other side of the counter. That guy just said sweets right now, didn't he? Well, he certainly didn't say sour. There she is!
最近ずっと食べてなかったんですよね。スイートストロベリーコンポートパフェ。
All of a sudden, I heard a bright voice that felt completely out of place in the atmosphere of the store. That voice.
シオン。
ケイちゃんにリカちゃま。
There she is.
お待たせしました。
I hope you're ready to crush some ankles, you two. Shion emerged from behind the man in the black suit, shouting in a lavish voice. With Shion's appearance, the atmosphere in the cafe seemed to brighten up in an instant. Shion and the man in the suit walked straight toward our table.
こんにちは、ナモです。僕たちも今来たところなのですよ。
Shion sat down at the table, and the man in black took a seat beside her. He had such an incredible presence. He was emanating a heavy, intimidating aura.
なあ、シオン。
はい？
そちらの、なんていうか。
I carefully scanned my brain, searching for what else to say. How do I describe this scary-looking Yakuza man? Simple! Call him scary. But before I could say anything, Shion put on a gleeful smile and waved her hand, and spoke up.
些細なことですよね。私のボディーガードとか思ってもらえればいいです。
ボディーガード？
Shion must be something of a big deal to travel with a bodyguard. I was once again reminded of the power of the Sonozaki family, even in Okinomiya. The man she called Kasai adjusted his posture, then turned to me and lightly bowed his head without even a hint of a smile. What? He didn't even drop his guard while greeting me.
カサイと申します。シオンさんがいつもお世話になっているそうで。
私がお世話してあげてるんですよ。そうですよね、ケイちゃん。
Well, you aren't the one that... Well, you aren't... Keiichi isn't the one you're trying to feed veggies to, Shion, so I mean... Not exactly.
どうも、はじめまして。ケイイチです。
I laughed ambiguously. I was still hesitant to look directly at Kasai while introducing myself. Which is to be expected, since he's twice as strong as me.
どうしました、ケイちゃん？
いや、別に。
そんなに緊張しないでくださいよ。見た目は怖いけど、いいやつなんですから。
Well, yeah, he's nice. Until you put a shotgun with slug rounds in his hands, in which case, well... God help you if you're on the receiving end of that.
そうなんだ。
今日は私一人の予定だったんですけどね。図書館に変なやつがいるなーなんて思ってたら、これがまた偶然ってなわけで、財布代わりに連れてきました。
Her wallet? How am I supposed to react to that besides laughing?
ね、なかなかいい男だと思いませんか？リカちゃまも。
スーツの男性は素敵なのです。それに園崎に関係があるお話なのでちょうどよかったのです。
園崎に関係のある話？
そうなのです。
Rika-chan smiled while looking back and forth between Shion and Kasai-san. Shion, on the other hand, tilted her head and shrugged her shoulders.
電話ではちょっと聞きましたけど、どんな話でしょうね。まあとりあえずスイーツでも楽しみましょう。
Shion called the surly host over and requested sweets for everyone, even for Kasai-san and me. Eventually, 4 colorful parfaits that looked as good as something from Angel Mort came out, and Rika-chan and Shion immediately began gleefully eating them. If the atmosphere of the store were different, they'd look even more delicious. As I thought that, I used the long spoon to grab a scoop of ice cream.
Huh?
The taste was actually above average. What a surprising discovery. Thinking about it, Shion should be pretty finicky about sweets after working at Angel Mort. So if it's something she specifically requested, then that pretty much guarantees it'll taste good, right? But it's such a bad fit for this store. Really, it's unfortunate. Kasai-san periodically glanced at me while gracefully sipping his coffee, without touching his parfait at all. Did he even ask for that coffee? No, I'm sure it was just given to him.
どうです？意外にいけるでしょう。ここのマスターは見かけによらず、なかなかの腕前なんですよ。
美味しいのです。みた
ほら、カサイも一度くらい食べてみなさいよ。
お気持ちはありがたいのですが、今日はシオンさんの付き添いですから。また次回、女性同伴で来た時に試してみますよ。
おー、言ってくれますね。カサイが同伴を許すような女の人って、従業員以外でどんな人なんでしょうか。
You know, I'd actually like to know that myself. Go on, Kasai. Share with the class what kind of women you like.
ぜひ見てみたいものですよ。
Oh, wait a minute. Now that I think about it, didn't he have a thing for Shion's mother at one point? If I remember correctly. Or am I thinking somebody else? Even after Shion's joke, I couldn't detect even a hint of a smile out of him. They seemed to have a long relationship together, but more than that, I was able to see the depth and strength of him as a man.
で、今日はどんなお話なんですか？
I like how sinister the music just turned into. Shion finished her parfait in no time and then spoke up. The atmosphere of this place hardened in an instant. That's right. We came here to talk about something important.
ああ、それが。
So, how should I explain it? We got another one here, huh? Okay, so... Do you know about Teppei? The little chart I'm looking at here doesn't say anything. Oh, wait a minute. Oh, I see. It's abbreviated. So... Okay. Looks to me like I gotta be very specific about the next sequence of choices that I have to make in order to keep myself on the path to this thing's good end. And I imagine that just selecting just even one wrong answer along the way will put me on the path to bad end number 2. If that's indeed the case, let's go right ahead and get this out of the way, shall we? Do you know about Lord Teppei the Wise?
何ですかいきなり。
Shion furrowed her eyebrows and craned her neck after hearing an unpleasant name. Seeing that, Rika-chan sat down her spoon and continued from there.
その鉄平の知人に間宮里奈という女性がいます。知りませんでしたか？
間宮里奈？知らないな。それがどうしたんですか？
そいつ園崎系列の店で働いているそうなんだけど、知ってるか？
葛西？
When Shion asked, Kasai-san hung his head and thought about it for a moment. After seemingly getting lost in how to respond, he eventually answered.
おそらく知っている人物かと。間宮里奈が何か。
Kasai-san spoke in a clerical tone. I couldn't read his expression thanks to his sunglasses, but judging by his voice, it seems like he was feeling suspicious after suddenly hearing Rina's name. Will the two of them be able to take this story seriously? Or more importantly, will they even believe a story based on wild prediction or premonition? I suddenly started feeling anxious in front of this man called Kasai-san. But this is no time to hesitate. They have to believe me. I took a short breath and spoke all at once.
系列の店って園崎に上納金を毎月支払ってますよね。
ケイちゃん？
リナがその上納金に手をつけようと計画しています。
は？
Shion and Kasai looked at one another in bewilderment. A perfectly natural reaction. There's no way they could have expected a story like this to come out of my mouth.
ちょっと待ってください。なんでそんな話、ケイちゃんとリカちゃまから？
それは。
それに、上納金に手をつけるって穏やかじゃないですよ。だいたいそのリナって女は何者ですか？
Shion's last question was directed at Kasai-san. He adjusted his glasses while offering her an answer.
間宮里奈。店で名乗っている名前ですが、本名かどうかは。フラワーロードの店の一つで働いている従業員です。
従業員？ああ。でも、ますますわかんないですよ。どうしてうちの従業員のことをケイちゃんたちが知ってるんです？
あ、いや、だから。
Shion's shrewd eyes darted back and forth between Rika-chan and I. Meanwhile, Kasai-san was carefully staring straight at me. He seemed to be verifying the authenticity and intent behind my words.
僕が聞いたのです。
Sensing my difficulty in answering, Rika-chan spoke up in a calm voice while still eating her slowly melting parfait.
え？リカちゃまが？どこで？
図書館なのです。なんだか変な人たちとワイワイ楽しそうに話していたのですよ。
図書館？うちの従業員が？似合わない。
とっても場違いだったのです。だからよく目立っていたのです。
詳しく聞きましょうか。
So for the first time, Kasai-san leaned slightly forward and carefully listened to what Rika-chan and I had to say. Upon seeing that, Shion started looking a little more serious and turned toward us.
なるほど。確かに気になる話ではあります。
Kasai-san quietly listened to Rika-chan's polite explanation, but once her story was over, he simply said that with a nod and zipped his lips.
で、私たちにどうしろと？
そのリナって女が園崎の上納金を狙えないようにしてくれ。リナが働いているのは園崎系列の店だから、園崎の力をもってすればリナの動きを封じるくらい簡単だろ。
まあそりゃあ。
もしそれが無理でも園崎家のシオンには一度話しておいた方がいいかなって。無関係とは言い難いしさ。
それを言うならなんでお姉に言わないんです？順序おかしくありませんか？
いや、こういうのってシオンの方が詳しそうだからな。
え？詳しいってどうしてです？
シオンって園崎の系列の店で いろいろバイトしてるって言ってただろ。だからそういう店の実情とか上納金の話とかは逆に詳しいんじゃないかなって。
I answered completely reflexively, but I was still convinced that reasoning would be considered acceptable. Mion certainly is the effective head of the Sonozaki family, but given the distance to Okinomiya, it seemed like Shion would be more familiar with this sort of topic. What's more, there's a high possibility that threatening movements like these, without any proper confirmation, would never even reach Mion.
それにシオンならもしかしたらその店で働いてるかもしれないし。
その店ってフラワーロードの？私が？って働いてるわけないでしょ。
I nodded over and over to her. I was about to say it was just a joke. But then for some reason, Rika-chan joined in.
働いたことはないのですか？
ない。ケイちゃん、リカちゃま、喧嘩売ってますか？そんなお店で未成年の私が働いたら、一発レッドカードですよ。まったく。
働きたいと一度頼まれたことはありますがね。
Oh, really now?
時給がいいからと。
シャラップ。
So she did consider working there. I thought so.
で
Shion cleared her throat and settled down, then stared straight at me as she said that.
私のバイトの話はともかく、ケイちゃんたちの目的とか、メリットは？
目的？メリット？
リナにうちの上納金をくすねさせなければ、ケイちゃんたちにはメリットがあるんでしょ？それは何ですか？ぜひとも聞きたいものですね。
それは。
だいたい、どうしてケイちゃんたちがそんな話を知っているのか。ケイちゃんたちは、リナって女とどう関係してるのか。その女の動きを封じる目的は何なのか。ことが大きいだけに、それがはっきりしないと、悪いですけど、言う通りには従えませんよ。
She makes a fair point, gentlemen. I got stuck thinking of how to respond to that. Shion is quick-witted, so of course she wouldn't believe right away. I myself only half believe it, so there's not much that can be done about it. Oh. Still got some more stuff to do, to select, huh? Let's bring up Rina's background. I decided to bring up the background of the person named Rina.
間宮リナは北条哲平と同居している。だから奴らを喜ばせるようなことをしたくないだけだ。
喜ばせるねえ、ケイちゃん。それならもっといい方法がありますよ。
Shion's eyes glistened as she stared intently. I sensed a deep hatred within them that she tried to hide behind a smile.
そんな甘っちょろいやり方じゃなくって、待ち伏せして捕まえて思い知らせてやればいいんですよ。園崎に逆らったやつがどうなるかってね。なんてね。
Sure you are. Sure you are.
ま、別に警察沙汰にするだけが断罪にはならないってことですよ。そうでしょ、葛西。
シオンさん。
Kasai-san put a hand on his sunglasses and turned toward Shion to rebuke her. Sensing that the time for kidding around was over, she shrugged her shoulders and calmed down.
とりあえずリナの話ですが、私も確かにその件に近い内容でマークをしていました。
そうなの？
Kasai-san quietly nodded after seeing the look of shock on Shion's face.
リナは最近金の貸し借りで同僚とトラブルがあったとかで、店にはあまり顔を出さなくなりました。同僚だけではなく、あちこちで相当借金を作っていたようで、リナの名前を聞いていい顔をする人間はほとんどいません。
でもそれだけじゃ。
まあですが、クラブの若い衆の何人かと妙につるんだりして、 金もないだろうに変だと思っていたところなんです。
借金があるのに羽振りがいいってわけね。
あともう一つ、図書館で見かけたという話ですが、実は私も聞いておりました。意外だとは思ってましたが、そう聞けば、そうか、なるほど。
Kasai-san nodded as if he had quickly reached a conclusion. When Shion saw that, she spoke up.
ちょっと葛西、リカちゃまとケイちゃんの言うこと真に受けてるんですか？
もしもということがあります。それに上納金においそれと手をつけられては組としてのメンツもある。
あ、すみません、葛西さん。
I couldn't help but interrupt as I heard the word in dishonorable.
できればリナには何もしないでもらいたいんです。
何も？それはどういう意味ですか？
Kasai-san's eyes suddenly lit up. I felt intimidated and caught my breath, but I absolutely had to say this.
殺さないでほしい。そういう意味です。
え？あのね、ケイちゃん。言ってる意味、全然わかんなくなってきてるんですけど。
Shion's dubious frown was on full display as she glared at me to vent her displeasure. It made sense. Not only am I an outsider interfering with the inner workings of a gang, but I'm asking them to spare the life of a stranger who isn't even worth saving. They can't help but be baffled. But before I could do anything, Kasai-san gently adjusted his glasses and made a cold assertion.
あいにくですが、それはお断りします。そんな三下どもに舐められては、ヤクザ者のメンツが立たない。それなりの報いを受けるのが、この世界の掟というものです。
And she would end up paying a lot more than just a pinky finger or two. He responded as expected. After all, there are times to be firm. But even so, speaking directly to the concerned parties does make this easier, because it allows me to accurately convey my intentions.
それは分かっています。でもお願いします。奴らを許すとかじゃなく、このこと自体をなかったことにしてほしいんです。
なかったこと？それは無理というものです。
つまりリナたちが盗みの実行を最初から諦めれば、金も取られずメンツも失われない。そうですよね。
まあそれは。
で、話の腰を折って申し訳ありませんが、そこで私たちの当然の疑問ってわけです。どうしてケイちゃんたちはそのリナなんて悪徳人を助けてやろうって考えたんですか？
Alright, I'll tell her about Satako. Alright, fine. Here you go, you nosy green-haired witch.
サトコだ。
は？
I took one long breath, then stared straight at Shion. Rika-chan was anxiously looking up at me, but I thought it was finally time to tell them. Shion is our friend. When a problem is deep, information needs to be conveyed accurately. That's probably why she brought Kasai-san here. I felt it was my natural duty to respond to her trust with sincerity.
そのリナってのは、サトコにひどいことをしていたおじ、鉄平と深い関係にある。
それ、どういうことです？
I stammered for a moment, thinking about how best to explain it. I don't know much about it myself, so would she take it in a weird way if I didn't explain it well enough?
リナはその鉄平とつるんでいるのです。
Kasai-san chimed in to address Shion's confusion.
北条鉄平が札付きのゴロ付きなのはご存知だと思います。そしてこの沖宮で生活を営んでいます。
それで
リナはどうやら鉄平と組んで結婚詐欺を生業にしているようでして。
In short, the woman finds an easy mark to get romantically involved with. Then, once they get good together, The man rolls up saying, "Get your hands off my woman," and starts demanding financial compensation.
近頃ではリナと組んでの詐欺行為が北条哲平の唯一の収入源のようですね。
要は北条哲平がリナに生活を依存してるってことか。
He truly is a worthless man, what can I say? Shion nodded and made a face that seemed to show she understood.
もしそのリナが金を持ってとんずらしたらどうなる？
ん？
リナが上納金を持って沖宮の町から、いや落とし前つけられて消されても収入源を失った哲平は即路頭に迷う。家賃だってすぐに払えなくなるし、生活にも困る。
まあそうでしょうね。
そうしたら北条哲平はHinamizawaの家に戻るしかない。そうなったらSatakoはその哲平に連れ戻される。その結果どういうことが想像できる？
Shion's complexion changed the moment she heard that. Rika-chan and Shion should both know better than me how Satako was treated by her uncle. Satako had finally regained her vitality after living together with Rika-chan, so if she were to start living for her uncle again and ended up back in the same situation as last year, it was easy to imagine how it would turn out.
ケイちゃん考えすぎ。それどこのテレビドラマの話ですか？
After a brief silence, Shion let out a dry laugh, like it was just a joke, but I could see the deep bloodlust in her eyes. The man who tormented Satako and drove her into a corner is still out there. She overlooked him after he fled to Okinomiya, but she never forgave him. And he's still out there selfishly doing as he pleases. Of course it's unforgivable. And so, if this Rina lady is with Teppei, then... Indeed, I understood perfectly well the dark emotions swirling around in Shion's mind.
シオン、
何ですかケイちゃん。大丈夫ですよ。ちゃんと聞いていますから。
Shion said that, but her gaze was focused in a completely different direction. Like she felt there was no longer any need to continue this conversation. Well, we've done it now, ladies and gentlemen. We have screwed ourselves. Again. Shortly thereafter, we felt like we were done chatting, so we made our way out of the store. We were all engaging in a friendly manner, but I was really worried about the look on Shion's face. I noticed a disturbing expression on Shion as we parted ways. I was really worried about it, so I called Mion as soon as I got home. Then I briefly explained what I told Shion that afternoon, and asked her to make sure Shion didn't do anything hasty. Naturally, Mion was confused at first, but she knew everything Satako went through last year, so she quickly understood the situation. Now she promised to keep an eye on Shion, and she promised to keep an eye on Shion, starting immediately. And with that, I guess it'll be fine for now. The moment I thought that, and just as I was about to go up the stairs, the phone began to ring. It was Mion. He's dead already, isn't he? Apparently, Shion had gone missing. Oh shit, no. Apparently she's probably dead. I could tell from the tension in Mion's voice that this was a worst-case scenario. A few days later, Rina, Mamiya, and Teppei Hojo's corpses were discovered in the village. As Rika-chan and I stared at the scene in awe, someone walked up to us. It was Shion. No, she's alive. Killing the two of them was the quickest solution, right? The grin on Shion's face said as much, and her eyes were shining in an eerie, dark red hue. However, things didn't play out as Shion expected. Detective Uushi had been vigorously, rather obsessively, investigating a series of mysterious deaths in Hinamizawa, and this only deepened his suspicions of the Sonozaki family. Oh, 2 victims. I see. And when the Sonozaki family head, Oryu, saw how serious the situation was getting, she made the decision to throw Shion into the Sonozaki family dungeon. However, Shion anticipated that development and swiftly killed Oryu instead. Then, after making Mion watch that grisly scene, she can find Mion in the dungeon and then disguise herself as Mion to appear before us. Why is she going after Mion? Why? It was the secret room in the basement that we heard about from Mion, or actually Shion in disguise. As some of the only people who knew the truth of what Shion had done, Rika-chan and I had to be killed to keep us quiet. Why? Why kill us? I mean, we were the ones who came to you about the problem to begin with. We asked for your help. We want you to do something about him. So... Oh, sweet Jesus. I mean, I didn't know for sure what I was expecting something quick. Like, just like with the first bad end here, but I didn't think we would just basically get a speed run version of chapters 2 and 5 from the second bad end. And it doesn't even make sense in this context for everything to have played out the way it did. Exactly as it played out in chapters 2 and 5 to boot. It doesn't make any sense. They weren't even trying with these bad ends, were they? Whoever wrote this. Dang. Well, that was fun. But I think I'm going to go ahead and put things to an end here, and I guess we will continue going through Omote in the next episode. Still no scene featuring Rina at a hospital, but maybe that's coming up soon? Maybe? Hopefully? I don't know. Whatever the case may be, I will come back to this sequence of events next time. In the meantime, though, I hope every one of you who's tuned in have enjoyed this latest episode of the Higurashi When They Cry console arcs. If you did, and you'd like to see more content from me, feel free to hit that like button and subscribe to my channel. I will see you all next time. Take care.